Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriya jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadikacchati. A person of faith attains knowledge, primary knowledge. Thence, diligence, and after that, the control of the motor and sensory organs. After attaining knowledge, the person attains peace quickly. Good morning, everybody. Topic today is 7 stages of knowledge. Kind of people are curious, yes. Yes, because the human mind is kind of oriented towards acquiring knowledge. And in Vedanta, we have 6 modes of acquiring knowledge. 6 ways of knowing, which involves the conscious mind as well as the subconscious mind. First is, it's cognition. We cognize things, we perceive things, and on the basis there's something called anumana. Anumana is we infer. There's a smoke on that hill, and so we can infer there's fire there. You don't have to actually see the fire, you can infer. The third is upamana, analogy. It means most of knowledge is comparison. We compare one set of perception with another set of perception. And that's the way we go about. The fourth is testimony by competent people. Those who have experienced certain truths, they kind of document them, and then it's called shabda, testimony. It could be a scientist, be researchers in the lab. They have the evidence. Say, we follow this protocol, you will arrive at these conclusions. So you just cannot dismiss those things. So it's testimony, shabda. And then we have something called arthapatti. We kind of presume a particular thing. We take it to be true. It may not be true, but we lay down the arguments on that presumed axiom. And in most cases, we do arrive at truth. And then there's another method of knowledge called, it's kind of strange, but it is the fact. Suppose I enter this room, this temple, and there's no one here. Well, there's no one here. Well, that no one here itself is a form of knowledge. There's no one here. There's a knowledge. So, this is what is called anupalabdhi. So, we have these 6 modes of knowledge, 6 methods of knowledge. This has been dealt extensively by one of the great Swamis, the pioneers who had come to America, Swami Satyamayananda, who was for many years in St. Louis. This 6 ways of knowing is how the mind works, consciously and subconsciously. And this is external knowledge. Obviously, there's another method of knowledge which is called direct perception through yoga, yogic pratyaksha. direct perception through yoga. That is considered evidence, pramana. It's called pramana because it comes from the word prama, knowledge. So, these yogic evidences is what we will discuss today in these 7 stages of knowledge. It transcends the ordinary external world of sensory knowledge. Now, when we talk about this thing, is this extraordinary knowledge? Yes, it's a special knowledge, and it is called the superconscious knowledge. Yeah, we have to kind of ascend it. There is the subconscious part of you, we all know, and there are divisions, pre-conscious and conditioned conscious, all these things, but we'll just lump them all together into subconscious. And then we have a conscious mind, we all know. But there's another part of the mind, which is the superconscious, which we have not gained any type of ingress. We do not know these vast areas. And in most people, it's dormant. It has to be awakened. So, even in the Upanishad there are 2 types of knowledge, one internal, one is external, one low, one is higher. The questioner, a young student, asks his guru, what is that by knowing which you know everything? Kasminno bhago vijnatam sarvamidam vijnatam. Well, then he classifies knowledge into external and internal. And as we know, we have been pushing the bounds of non-knowledge because, like I mentioned before, the human mind simply cannot stay in the state of ignorance. It seeks knowledge. But in this seeking knowledge, which actually makes us more miserable, the test of knowledge is it should make you happy. There is a thirst for knowledge, like you have. It's actually like a hunger and thirst. You actually feel it. It moves you. So similarly, when this thirst for knowledge awakens, you are on the right path. So we need to search. There is something called subject and then the object. Obviously. Okay. Now you need to locate it somewhere where you're going to search it. I may locate it in a kind of an atom or a subatom or in some stars or some galaxy or somewhere else. But where do I actually perceive? Where does the perception occur of the galaxy or the subatom? Where? Within you. It's within you. Perception always occurs within you, not outside. That's why Jnanam Gneyam Jnanagamyam Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. That is the knower, which is consciousness. The knowable. It is yet unknown. It can be known. That's why it's a knowable. Is always residing within your own self. So that's it. There is a part of you which you do not know, obviously, and the world also. And we take it to be real. Well, there's something missing here. The element of reality which we take ourselves and the world is kind of always mutable. It's always changing. Reality cannot be mutable. It cannot change. It has to be infinite. It has to be bliss, all these things. So the moment we get another equation within these 2 factors, then it becomes kind of convenient. The more you know about yourself, the more you'll know about the world, and the more you'll know about God. If you know more about the world, you'll know more about yourself, and you'll know more about God. And if you know more about God, you'll know more about the world and more about yourself. These three things are linked. The Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Always. You cannot discard one and say, I know everything. Well, that's a mistake we generally do. So the more you know about yourself, you'll know more about the world. Yes. Now, this knowledge arises within people. There are many people who kind of claim this kind of knowledge. Well, the moment you start claiming, dismiss it. You can't claim anything here. It's an experience. Now, when you say, how do you check this subjective experience? It has to arise within the crucible of character. Without that, it's impossible for this. Oh, it's a kind of a long process. Yeah, it is a long process, and it does arise only in the sensory systems of ours, has to be coupled with the motor systems. We have to translate what we know into action. If you can't do that, there's something wrong with the sensory knowledge. Or maybe there's indolence, or maybe there's no control of the senses. So it's always knowledge will arise only in certain pre-existing conditions. And one is, the scriptures enumerate the lack of egoism. There should be humility, unpretentiousness. There should be the idea of altruism or seva. You can go out. Then there's a long list. The scriptures, amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti. There is something called non-injury by thought, word and deed. When you see these in a person, then only you know that knowledge can arise, supreme knowledge can arise under them. You can't just keep a character which is kind of fragmented and say that supreme knowledge has arisen in that person. It doesn't work out that way. So there is, in fact, the scriptures say the practice of all these humility, unpretentiousness, service and all these things is actually the practice of knowledge. Etat jnanam, this is knowledge. So when you practice anything, when you work, all work ends with an experience, and the experience is knowledge. Sarva karma akhilam partha jnani parisamapyate. All work, every type of work, a thought, a deed, ends with an experience, knowledge. There are some people who kind of say this is spiritual work and this is secular work. All those distinctions do not exist actually. We have made this kind of artificial distinctions. Then what happens is, this world outside, with all our knowledge, with all these kind of huge thousands and thousands and thousands of years, from the last 200 years, we have really taken off. But we have been kind of gradually trying to grasp what constitutes this external world. And it has been for millions and millions of years, our ancestors were trying to understand this. And they couldn't properly. And they build stories and myths to make sense of this world outside. That was religion. Is religion to many people. These myths will slowly be eradicated with the rise of knowledge. This evolutionary biologists say that somewhere around 70 to 80,000 years ago, there was a spurt of cognitive development. Yes, and the early humans just couldn't handle those things. And we have been kind of working out that cognitive development even till the present day. And it's going to take a few, maybe 100,000 years more in the future. Yes. And that gave us language, and it gave us symbols, and all these we started developing. Then came the perceptions of yoga in India. It was stumbled upon in other cultures, but in India, they made it into a science. And they found that this cognitive development at the highest peak can liberate you. Yes, that was one of those great discoveries. The search was internal. They internalized all ideas and everything what they had, the old sacrifices, they internalized it. The search was internal. So when you say 7 stages of knowledge, these are internal stages. You won't find them in the museum. You won't find them on the streets. Okay. So the first stage, before we can go, of course, in the first stage, there are a few things that we need to kind of look at. The characteristics, the primary characteristics of this knowledge is, first, like I mentioned, it will give you bliss, it will give you peace, it will lead you kind of to a place where you find a little happiness. This pursuit of knowledge itself is a form of a sacrifice. It's called a jnana yajna. When you pursue knowledge, when you want to eradicate ignorance, this is one form of worship. You don't have to do all those various forms of worship that are laid down. That itself is a form of worship. In most of our lives, we find these are small things that really bring us down. Yeah. Big things also bring us down, of course. But these are small things. We get so overwhelmed with innumerable things, it's pulling us down. Well, it means one thing. You become so small, and everything is overwhelming you. When you grow with knowledge, everything else becomes small. You start maturing, and the things that used to kind of break your kind of poise, you kind of smile at them. And there was a time when I used to get frightened of this thing. Now no longer. You have grown. Knowledge is growth. And this is the one remedy. When we hear about all this stress and tension and depression and anxiety, 40 years ago somebody said something and I'm still taking a pill for that. God! What? You haven't grown. You move on. Like Sri Ramakrishna said, go forward. And that's what. You keep on growing and growing and growing, and all these small fry will simply disappear. So the another set of characteristics of knowledge is, you say, the first condition for knowledge is, well, it is actually purity. Yes, for supersensuous knowledge, it is purity. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. It encapsulates everything. It is true. So even the yoga aphorisms say, pratibhadva sarvam. You can get everything through purity. You don't have to go through a long process of yoga all the contortions and this and that and blowing through the nose and damming your senses. Yeah. Pure, you'll get knowledge. No impure person can ever get supreme knowledge. That is the condition. As we understand our role in this world, where exactly we are, what happens is we can overcome nature to a great extent. We really don't know our own position in this universe. It's a vast universe. We think we are the center of the universe. And then we say our planet is also the center of the universe. Kind of small speck of dust. Who bothers about this kind of speck of dust? But it has something called life and consciousness. And we can study the whole universe through that. Imagine, there's a book called The Self-Aware Universe. The universe is becoming aware through us. That's a great responsibility given to us. There's, as we proceed in yoga, in the highest reaches, we have something called Dharma Meghasama, the cloud of Dharma, virtue. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you speak, is not only virtuous, you bless people. You are a blessing to humanity, you are a blessing to everybody and everything. That is the one test. Are you a blessing or you're a kind of a curse or you're a burden on this, to others? If you are that, well, you have progressed very far. And then there's something called your life is filled with truth. Ritambara prajna. Your knowledge is, MacLeod, when she went first to hear Swami Vivekananda in New York, I don't remember the particular words, but when he said something, the first word was true. He said the second word, it was true. And the third word he spoke was true. And I've been listening to him all these years, and whatever he has said is true. This is what it is. There is no shade of any kind of doubt. There is no shade of ambiguity. Nothing. It is true. So this is what happens, Ritambara Prajna. In our lives, we try to deceive the world, but actually we are deceiving ourselves. We have kind of multiple personalities and we get confused at the end of life. What exactly am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? We keep on saying. Well, once we have this, now we can proceed to the first stage of knowledge. Tasya saptada pranta bhumi prajna. The knowledge of this person is sevenfold. Yes. And the various bhumis, they're called levels. The first is we have known what is to be known. There is nothing in this world can dissatisfy you. Yes. Why? Because you've understood the foundation of this universe. You've understood the foundation of your own personality. But isn't that the kind of a very egotistical? No, it's not. You've learned the distinction between consciousness and its manifestations, between the soul and nature. You have kind of seen the distinction. Oh, it's this. Besides we keep on doing those same things over and over and over again. Isn't it? We are very kind of progressive. See our lives. We think those same stupid thoughts. We do those same stupid mistakes. Keep on. And we are saying we are progressive. With all these mistakes, all the errors, we are kind of running around in circles. And then you stop running around in circles, you have a direction. Now there. I've got to go there, and that's where I go. There is nothing in this world that can draw you away from your own self-settledness. This is. The second is the absence of all pains. Nothing in this universe can hurt you anymore. You've insulated yourself with knowledge. Yes. Suppose somebody comes and wants to crucify you. Okay. They want to crucify me. Okay, fine. So what happens is, you have matured to such a point where nothing in the internal or the external world can ever hurt you, harm you, pain you, nothing. The third is, yes, you have come to a stage where you're on the kind of brink of knowledge, absolute knowledge. You have understood the distinction between yourself, which was an illusion, and all selves in the universe. There is one self. There is one consciousness. You see the one in the many. Today we are seeing the many. Swami Vivekananda says unity in variety is a plan of creation. So you see the unity. You don't see anything, everybody and all things as distinct from you. You become, in a way, the universe. Yes. But what about my individuality? Well, your individuality was a passing show. That is kind of individuality. And people would like to go to heaven with this individuality. Fifth stage is the end of all duties. There is no duty towards yourself or to the world or nothing to God. You have come to a stage where all works fall away. And the example given is like a stone, like a boulder, rolling down a hill into a valley which cannot climb up by itself. There. It is called a chitta vimukti. That is, you have the freedom from everything. That mind stuff that you were carrying all through, you become free from that. Yeah. The sixth stage is, you have Sri Ramakrishna says, there in this level, Agnya Chakra, you can see the reality, you can see God, but there's a kind of a glass kind of there which obstructs you from touching that reality, from experiencing that. You can see reality clearly, but there is still a slight kind of obstruction. And in the seventh stage, well, you merge in that. So we are speaking of knowledge and the self as separate, but in that stage, you become knowledge, you become consciousness. This is the final merging of yourself in that great self. Now, this is according to the yoga philosophy. Yeah, you can kind of somehow relate it to where we are. So, oh, that's there, so fine. But like I said, these are levels in the superconscious mind. Sri Ramakrishna says there is a lot of similarity between the 7 centers of yoga and the 7 planes of knowledge according to Vedanta. So let's go down to the 7 according to the Vedanta. We've seen it from the standpoint of yoga. Let's take another viewpoint. It will help us clarify things much better. So the first stage is called Subhecha. That is, there's a good resolve. Now, what is a good resolve? Just, I want supreme knowledge. Is that a good resolve according to Vedanta? No. What happens is, as we keep on praying, meditating, doing japa, and all these things, we are laying down a set of spiritual impressions in your mind. And slowly, that keeps on increasing and increasing and increasing. Yes, it might take lifetimes, but doesn't matter. Keep on. So your worldly impressions are slowly outnumbered by the spiritual impression. When the tipping point comes, that is Subhecha. It's an awakening. The body awakens first. We do not really know how many powers are lurking within this body. We carry it like a piece of meat, kind of moving about. Yeah. We don't even know what things are there. Tremendous. So the body awakens. That awakens the life processes. And that awakens the mind. And the mind awakens the intellect. This is a kind of it's a domino effect. One awakening. In ordinary, you can say, parlance is called the awakening of the Kundalini. Kundalini is not a snake there. There's no snake there inside you. All your experiences are kind of coiled in you. And like I said, the spiritual impressions outgun the worldly impressions, and then it begins. The worldly impressions need this body, and that's why we have the body. The moment you start, it's awakened, your spiritual impressions are awakened, you can perform things even without the help of this body. So that's the first stage. The awakening. The second is vicharana. It's called vicharana. It's like you have understood where exactly the individual soul is located, and you are going towards that center of consciousness. You have discarded all the other, you can say, ancillary things, as we say, all supports. You've discarded all supports, and that soul itself, individual soul itself, is the only support of your life. The third stage is Tanumanasa. The mind has become extremely fine, transparent. It is bereft of all the gross impressions and everything have the mind has become so fine, it can penetrate everything and anything. You have understood the secrets of this universe. Yeah. Oh. Is there a secret? Yeah. You'll know it on that third stage. Tanumanasa, the mind. The mind, like now, does not delude you, does not obstruct you, doesn't it? It's perfectly under your control. The fourth is the individual soul and the supreme soul kind of merge. It's called Sattvapatti, the attainment of Jivan Mukti, or liberation while still alive. This is realization proper, the fourth stage. So if it's there, it's over, then why bother about next year? So at this level, this person is called the knower of Brahman. That person is free while living. Yes. These are the people who speak the scriptures. All scriptures in the world have been spoken from this level, not on the ordinary consciousness, on the ordinary level. I was fortunate to be with one Swami, and he used to kind of, how many people are going to be there today for this class and this lecture, and then we should tell him. Then I should think, why does he need to ask this question? He can just go and just speak, whoever is there. He looks at me and says, I speak from a high level of consciousness. So I can, okay. So I said, how do you do it? I said, well, it's a long practice. But in this stage, sattvapatti, that is the realization of identity of yourself as Brahman. Okay, now this is understood. Then we have something called Padartha Bhavini. So here, the teachings of the Gita, kind of, when Sri Krishna speaks about Aham Atma Guda Kesha, I am the self in all beings, etc. Yo antas sukantara, I, those whose pleasure, this joy is within, all these things, it is this stage. The secrets of the universe are unraveled. You know it now in a much intimate sense. These are the stages of the liberation in life. In the fourth stage, that person, when he goes into that state of Samadhi, Samadhi is not anything kind of mysterious. It is intense concentration. Samadhi means concentration, intense concentration. Like Sri Ramakrishna's guru, Totapuri, he used to kind of meditate lying down, sleeping. People, and pulling a blanket over him, people used to think that he's asleep. He actually is meditating. So we don't need to kind of sit down there and make a show of things. I'm meditating. So in the fourth stage, that person can come out of that intense concentration by himself or herself. In this stage, there is need for another person who knows the mysteries of Samadhi to bring that person down. Like in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, we had Totapuri, his guru, bringing his mind down. This was the state, Padartha Bhavini. Yeah. And then there's something called Asam Shakti. That is, there cannot be two realities, you and the world and that reality. There is one. That one in the many, you now only see the one, and the many appears dreamlike. So how does that person operate? According to the past momentum. Swami Vivekananda gives the example of, you have two wheels joined by an axle, and they're both rolling down, suppose they're rolling down a hill. You hold one wheel, that is your own soul. You cut the axle with the sword of knowledge. The axle is a karma, work, that joins the soul to the other wheel, which is the body. And the body or the wheel keeps running down for some time because there's past momentum. It will run down and it will fall down. So this is the second stage. So that's why they say everything appears kind of a dream. In our own lives, see our past, if you try to remember our past, the whole thing seems dreamlike. Yes, we've been living a kind of in a dream world, it looks like, because it's memories. Can you live on memories? No. We live for reality. And then the last stage is Turiyaga. You transcend everything and you know that state cannot be described. Sri Ramakrishna, of course, however, uses a kind of analogy. Vijay Krishna Goswami, one of his disciples, he said, what happens in that state? Sri Ramakrishna says, that cannot be described in words. But he says, a salt doll went to measure the ocean, how deep it is. And what happened? The salt doll melted away. And then what happened? Nothing happened. Nothing is supposed to happen. It becomes the ocean. It was the ocean, it becomes the ocean once again. So, what happened? In one place, Swami Vivekananda, it's very difficult when we used to read Swami Vivekananda's books and we used to wonder, how could he operate in this world, in India, in America, and Europe, and all these places? He says, I am like a piece of glass in an ocean of light. Yeah, that was Swami Vivekananda. Today, by the way, on 12th January 1863, he was born today. So today is his birthday. According to the Gregorian calendar. So that person, for some reason, kind of, because Sri Ramakrishna told you have some work to do or something like that, kind of. But that ordinarily that person becomes the ocean of light. In Sri Ramakrishna's first experience, and he took that sword out and wanted to cut his own neck because he couldn't see the divine Mother Kali. What did he see? He swooned and he saw himself sinking in an ocean of consciousness and waves coming to him from all sides, and they covered him and he was dragged down. That's the ocean of light, ocean of consciousness here. That's transcendence, Turiyaga. Now, let's look at it from another standpoint. Because, Vedanta is kind of, they're good. It sounds so kind of glamorous and I'm fit for this kind of thing. Yeah. But very few are there because it needs tremendous discipline. So from the standpoint of devotion, the devotional scriptures, they classify devotion into two aspects. One is the primary and the other is secondary, the higher. Vaidhi Bhakti and Para Bhakti. That is you do so much of japa, you do 108, you'll do. Go to that church, go to this temple, go to this mosque, go to this synagogue, go here, go to this pilgrimage, fast once a while. All these are kind of preparatory. They are not devotion, but you are wending your way towards real devotion. So after this preparatory stage comes what is called the higher Para Bhakti. So in this higher Bhakti, the first thing one intuits is, I am on the same plane as that of God. You will find the idea of sacred has become so immense. Wherever we say, oh, this is a sacred space, and People have been fighting, of course, for sacred spaces. This is Jerusalem is here, and Mecca is there, and Rome is there, and Benares. These are sacred spaces. For this person, everything becomes sacred. And he or she will find the presence of God in their lives, in their thoughts. They'll never stray away from this. It's called Salokya. God is not any more longer in heaven or hell or anywhere else. So He's the nearest of the near. And then comes Samipya, to nearness. So yeah, okay, we are on the same plane, but I am so near Him, or He is so near me. That's God. That sometimes I am overwhelmed with that presence, divine presence. Yes, and these are the great devotees who kind of during a congregational singing or something like that kind of go into something called Bhava Samadhi. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you find him constantly. Anything awakens that kind of recollection. Anything, any activity, whether song, or dance, or something, used to push him into that realm. The third stage is Sarupya. You will see the reality of God as well as yourself, that they are made of the same nature. You are made of the same nature as a God. Oh. Not exactly in this connection, but one time Sri Ramakrishna was in Dakshineshwar walking in that one of those 5 groves, and his nephew was there, Hriday. And suddenly his nephew saying, "Oh Ramakrishna, let's go, we are divine beings, let's go to Calcutta and let us free everybody. We are not ordinary people." He saw Sri Ramakrishna's body as luminous and his own body as luminous. "We are not ordinary, well, let's go." "Hey, shut up, you rascal." I have so many experiences, I don't make a big noise out of it. And then he touches him and he's his old dull self again, and he begins weeping. "Oh, why did you do that?" So this is Sarupya. That Roop is form. That is God's form and your form. There's an identity there. And then finally Sayujya. You merge in that. This many devotees would not like to do. Like, I want to taste sugar, I don't want to be sugar. Yeah. So, how to taste it? There are many souls, many great saints, who after merging, they do kind of extricate themselves a little, and they work for the good of the world. It's called Loka Sangraha. When they work, whatever they do, like I said, they are blessing to humanity wherever they go. They awaken spiritual consciousness. So the last stage is Sayukta, Sayujya, that is, you merge. So this is the 7 stages according to yoga, the 7 levels according to Vedanta, and the 4 levels according to Bhakti, the devotion. What actually happens? Well, as you commence, there is a distinct change in your personality. If you begin and you are the same person for the last 20 years or 30 years, after practicing knowledge, there are distinct changes happening within you. So you are more oriented towards unselfishness, helping others, all these things. These are changes and you need to gauge them, how much I have traveled. And as we travel, through these conscious and subconscious levels, you'll enter into those super conscious realms which are part of you. For whatever reasons they have been closed, you open the door and you enter into that. And you enter into not only yourself, you enter into the whole universe. Yes. You, like I mentioned, you become the universe. You become actually the universe. This is the highest state. How is it mentioned? Oh, see, there are various mentions. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyati. After the end of many, many births, which also includes death, a person of knowledge attains me. And what is the realization? Vasudevam sarvamiti. All this is God. Some Mahatma, that's a great soul and a very rare soul. So now and then we have people coming down from those realms to show us the path. And if we follow those paths, we will come and realize our own divine nature. So these paths have been spoken of variously. Bahirantascha bhutanam, like that reality is inside everything, outside everything. Within the moving, within the non-moving, it is near, it is far, all these things sometimes spoken of. But ultimately, all human life is heading towards this. We spoke about that huge cognitive development which we are still unraveling. We have not been able to handle that. The common mass. A special class of people did manage to go towards the very extreme of that cognitive development. That came as yoga and Vedanta. What about the rest? Well, yes, the rest need help, obviously. And in this age, thank God. Really, we've got to be really thankful. The Divine Mother, who has the key to that door, has come. Yes, this is one of the things that I tell people. I always get kind of frightened to speak about the Holy Mother. In New York, Holy Mother's birthday, I was told to speak. My knees were kind of, it had become jelly, it was kind of shaky. Yes. All the stages of knowledge, 7, 17, 20, 100, whatever you want, you get it from there. There you will get. In fact, Swami Brahmananda was asked, who is mother? One time in Benares. And he goes into a state of ecstasy. And he couldn't say anything. Oh, he's laughing like a child. So what happened? Mother holds the key to the knowledge of Brahman. This? Yes. She's come covering her beauty and her knowledge. If we can approach her with love and devotion as that of a child, and that's what's most surprising, she's come with all the motherliness that she could muster, and we can approach her like children. And if she gets pleased very easily, she has the key. Okay, get in. So all these levels kind of sometimes when you go through it becomes, is it possible? It has been possible to many souls, but this time these great souls have come to take the masses towards liberation, towards peace, towards blessedness, towards joy, towards universality. Approach that mother as the child would approach my mother. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu Yataidangshi Samidhogni Bhasmasat Kurute Arjuna Jnanagni Dagda Karmani Tamaho Panditam Buddha. Like fire burns to ashes, wood, similarly, the fire of knowledge burns to ashes. All are karmas. And that person is called the Pandita, the real Pandita. A Pandita is one who has knowledge of the self. That is called Pandit. Nowadays we use the word in kind of offhand way. So it is knowledge that liberates us. And knowledge is not different from supreme devotion. So love and knowledge and liberation are all rolled into one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.